Moshi moshi. This is the internet, so I'm going to assume that at least some of you watching are probably weebs. And if you're a normie and you don't know what a weeb is or a weeaboo is, it's basically someone who's so obsessed with Japanese culture, especially stuff like anime, that you kind of take on a lot of the personalities. And as an example, this is apparently what Google thinks a weeb is. I've not gone that far yet, but I do love anime. With that in mind, I've watched a fair bit of anime in the past, from the basics everyone's watched, like Naruto, to some really obscure stuff I just couldn't keep my eyes off. It's not good watching, but I enjoyed it anyway. But there's been a trend in the last couple of years of people taking my beloved anime babies and just completely destroying them. And by taking my babies and destroying them, I mean what they're doing is they're taking the anime and making it live action, so having real people act it out. And if you've never watched an anime before, a lot of the stuff they do in there is so incredibly over-exaggerated, most people don't really do that. But they're trying to do live action ones, and the first one I watched was Bleach, which, if you've seen the anime, you'll know what it's all about. If you've not, it's about people from the afterlife coming and taking ghosts, taking them back, fighting bad guys, standard tropes and shit like that. But the first live action one I watched was Bleach. I didn't hate it, I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was the first one I'd ever seen they had done. I'm sure they'd done others I just hadn't been aware of, but I really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't exactly good. By all TV standards, it wasn't an incredible thing, but I really enjoyed watching it. And it did follow a lot of the story from the anime. They did it really well, the casting was done, but more importantly, it was done in Japan. They're the ones who do anime, they're the ones. Japan is where most of the anime comes from anyway, so it makes sense that when they did a live action, it wouldn't suck ass being done in the same place. Actually, I've watched it again since I wrote the semi-script for this, and it still pretty much holds up. I've enjoyed it. It's followed a lot of the story from the first couple of seasons of the anime, and they did it quite well. I think even the voice for the main guy is the same, but I'm not sure. Now, the next one I watched kind of kicked me in the nads a bit, and that was Death Note. And if you've seen that anime, which I think a lot of people have, it's really good. The characters are good, the story's good, the concept behind it is really interesting, and it has twists and turns, lots of bits you don't see coming, lots of bits you're on the edge of your seat for watching, and obviously L is one of the greatest characters in anime. I'm not even entirely sure why he's weird, but he's really cool. I love watching the whole thing. I could easily sit down and rewatch it again throughout a day. Then I watched the Netflix adaptation. It hurt. It was not good. The story was fairly lackluster. They made a load of the characters' choices really, like L I've just mentioned, he was not as cool and calm and composed as he is in the anime. It's almost as if whoever pitched this heard the concept of Death Note, but had never watched it or read it or anything, and then just tried to piece a story together, and it hurt. It hurt my little feelings. The only saving grace if it had one is that Willem Dafoe was great as Ryuk.
Shall we begin?
He was really good, obviously just voicing it because Ryuk is a big spirit demon sort of thing, to put it in layman's terms, but he was really good. I can't go into a huge amount of detail on the next couple I'm going to mention because I haven't had the heart to actually watch them, but I have seen trailers for Full Metal Alchemist. Obviously there was Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson, which wasn't rated very highly, and there was a whole load of controversy about her playing the main character. And then the latest one, which has just come out, is Cowboy Bebop, which... Again, Cowboy Bebop was a great show. The music in it was phenomenal. It wasn't the greatest anime ever, but I really enjoyed watching it. Kind of has the tie to my teenage years, and there's a little bit of nostalgia in there, if nothing else. And like I said, the soundtrack is phenomenal. I've listened to that several times since watching it. But seeing just a trailer for the live action, I don't think I can watch it. I've seen other reviews as well. Like, one of the ones I took to heart the most was Penguin Z0, or Moist Critical. I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately, and he seems to have the same sort of opinions on stuff as I do. He said it wasn't very good. And I don't think he's watched the anime either, but the series wasn't very good. And the fact I love the anime, I can't bring myself to do it. But why am I talking about live action anime at all? Especially if some of these live actions are pretty old, and the animes are even older. Well, they just announced the live action cast for a Netflix adaptation they're doing of one of my favorite all-time animes. It's called One Piece. I'm sure most of you who have ever heard of anime have heard of One Piece. It's one of the longest running ones ever. There's something like 1,000 episodes. Obviously, I've not seen them all. I don't have that kind of time or patience. But the first, I don't know, maybe 600 I have seen, I've really enjoyed. I like the characters. I like the story. It's goofy shit, but I really enjoy watching it. It's all about pirates and friendship and magic fruit and, you know, anime. It's been created in Hollywood for Netflix, which doesn't give me a lot of hope. But Ichiro Oda, I think I'm saying that right, is the guy who actually created One Piece, and he is getting involved apparently. which means at least it's going to follow some sort of story, and he's going to be pretty strict, I hope, on what they can and can't do with it and what sort of direction they're going to take it in. Obviously, if you've ever seen One Piece before, it's pretty wacky. Did I just say wacky? I'll stick with it. It's pretty weird. It's a really good story. It's been going for, like I said, 1,000 episodes. It can't be that bad, but it's not one I can see necessarily working well as a live action. We'll have to see. And I know one thing for sure, I'm definitely going to end up watching it when it comes out, but I just wish people would stop trying to make live action animes. It's the same thing as trying to make live action Disney films. A lot of them have been duds. Like it's animated. It's the whole point of anime specifically, animated, that people aren't as animated. If the CGI they're using isn't up to scratch, it's not going to be as good. I don't know. I'm a little trepidatious about anyone trying these things for the time being. Try and think of new stories ideally, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, what are your thoughts on live action anime? Let me know down in the comments below. If you've seen any that are worth watching I haven't mentioned, have you watched any of the ones I said I'd seen the trailers for and they're absolutely terrible, or you recommend I give them a watch? Let me know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, see ya.